This is Pretty Brooke Presents, and I am Leslie, Brooke's mom. Today, Pretty Brooke presents an interview with First Lady of Virginia, Pamela Northam. I was very much interested in speaking with her, not only obviously because she is the First Lady of the Commonwealth of Virginia, but she has a background as an occupational therapist as well. So I hope that you enjoy listening to her perspectives on issues as well as I have. Here's my interview.
Hi. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too, virtually.
Right? We're not going to lose the opportunity to do this for sure.
Oh, great. Things are good. I actually you and I have met once, and you actually met my my two little girls. So I wanted to start there. They're sleeping now, but we were at a function together, and you made a beeline for my little girls. They were in a stroller, and they were the only little kids there at the event. So I thank you in advance for being so kind with
I thank you for letting me visit with those beautiful young ladies. I could not forget those gorgeous little faces.
Thank you. Thank you.
What are they doing with all this craziness?
Well, it's definitely been a challenge. One of the things that with this whole thing, with this Pretty Brooke thing that I'm doing now for this Brooke, is that it's bringing more awareness for me, and
yes,
it's bringing I've heard people say that they enjoy listening to the videos about different subject matters. So and it was really good, not only obviously because you are the First Lady of the Commonwealth of Virginia, but I also wanted to talk to you because you are an occupational therapist. Am I right?
I am indeed. It's been a long time since I've practiced, but it's still very much a part of my heart, and really enjoy that time in my life.
And so I thought that was just such an interesting combination, in the political public figure, and and I know the governor is a pediatrician as well, so you both have medical backgrounds.
Yes.
That was one of the things that was very interesting to me as well. I'll just briefly tell you that my little girl has Rett syndrome. And so
remind me her name, dear.
Brooke, Brooke. Yes. So the reason for Pretty Brooke is that Rett is in the middle of the word pretty. So that's how we call the website PRETTY-BROOKE.
I love that. I love it.
So she is 5 years old and will be entering kindergarten, albeit virtually, starting September 8th. And so it will be interesting to see how that will work. She's going to be in a classroom with typical kids. I say classroom, but I put that in quotes. She'll be in a classroom with typical kids. And so we're interested in learning more about that as well. But I guess what I wanted to start with you is that if you had any, since we're talking about the virtual learning, if there's anything that you wanted to talk about in terms of tips for in-person learning for some kids who are doing that, or virtual learning, or is there anything that you would like to say about that? Because there's so many parents who are at the point now where they've either started or about to start this journey, and even if their kids are in 8th or 9th grade, this territory is really new for everyone. So I'll leave it to you to tell any thoughts that you have on that.
Well, I appreciate it, Leslie, and it's just so great to see you again. And
Thank
even if
you.
we have to do it virtually, at least I get a chance to see you and to be a part of your discussion and all the great work that you're doing with this project. I know
Oh, thank
it's
you.
hard to get information out there, and information changes quickly, and especially in these difficult times. So to have someone who's curating that in a caring and loving way, who understands with her own family the challenges that she has, really is meaningful to folks. So I thank you very much for thinking about others in your community and doing that great service right now. It
Oh,
means a
thank
lot to
you.
folks. Yeah, it's very important, as we all love and care about each other during these difficult times. So I thank you for helping folks to get the information that they need. You know more than anyone, sometimes it's all we can do, just to put food on the table and get all the things that we have to done, especially when we're caregivers. So to have someone helping us to pull together those bits of information is really helpful. And so I want to start out by saying, not only is it a great day to be able to talk to you, but also we're celebrating this month the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I think
Yes,
that's an
that.
important.
Thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate that. Yes, yes, that's right. That's
Such hard work done by so many Americans with disabilities and their allies. So to think that, the fight for civil rights and for accessibility and, universal design, all those things that many of us have benefited from since then, it's been so important. It really moved us in the forefront. A lot of people fought hard for those
that's
opportunities today.
right.
So we're very
And
grateful to them.
that's right. And there are lots of people who are continuing that good work as well. So yeah,
Indeed. There's more work to be done.
there's more work to be done, but it's really great, and I really appreciate you bringing that up at the beginning.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a
because there's
pleasure.
so many things that you know advancements that have been made, and
Yeah.
in talking about that, one of the things that I am personally interested in, and it's just kind of a wish list, thing for the future, is chair benches in public spaces. Obviously, we have changing tables for the young children, but that's one of the things that for the future, just to kind of put a bug in your ear for the future. Because my little girl, she's not a baby anymore, so taking her into a restaurant, it's a little bit more challenging, and I'm certainly for those who have disabilities, who are adults, it can be rather challenging in restaurants and other public spaces. So just
Indeed.
look for the future.
Well, that's the kind of information that we need to know. And we can only know that from people who are experiencing that and can say, hey, this is what we need and this is how it would make life better for us, so that we can all have the freedom and opportunities that everyone else does. So that's a really wonderful point. And, I encourage everybody out there to help celebrate by doing that. I think it's hashtag thanks to the ADA. So you send a photo to the hashtags of something that you're thankful about. So I think that
Oh
if we all
wow, okay, well I will definitely put that as the hashtag. Yes, I will do that.
I
Yes,
think we'll all join in on that.
that's right. That it's wonderful, and it's those kinds of things. Even the changing tables are there. They are a good example of things that make life a lot better for parents and people who care for young children, and so all of those things. I am
Yeah.
for.
I'll tell you a story, a little history in the 207-year-old executive mansion that we have the current honor to live in, that I would not have said it was very accessible. In fact, folks who were in wheelchairs had to go around to the back of the house to enter up the elevator. And so it wasn't until just a few years ago that a ramp was put into the front so that they may come into the front along with everyone else.
Oh, I did not realize that.
So even, changes being made slowly, as you said, but important changes. And it's just as beautiful as it ever was. And now it's even more beautiful to us because everyone can enter into the front.
That's right. And I think that that's one of the most important messages. It's just that there are things that can help everybody be able to enjoy these public spaces and in
Right.
a way with, while doing the things that they love to do, whatever the access is, whatever the, if it's a restaurant or a public facility or what have you. So I did not realize that. Okay.
I believe there was an access into the Capitol building itself, not here in Virginia, but the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., until brave people were protesting and saying, hey, we can't even, go into our own Capitol. So all that accessibility that has changed since then was because of the many wonderful people who worked for that.
Oh, wow, that's really great. I was not aware of that. Okay, thanks for sharing that information.
You
And
know,
I,
and
yes. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Now you were talking about school, and I
Sure.
think one of the things that I'm really, really thankful for, and because of my background, as you said, as a pediatric occupational therapist at one time, is early intervention. And I think, and you understand this as a family member, but the earlier the better that we can provide intervention and help for our children, especially those who have special needs. And so, it was my great joy this year to meet Temple Grandin. And I don't know if you've seen any of her wonderful
I
work, read
have.
one of her
I
books,
have.
but
Oh,
she's
wow, she's amazing.
amazing. And so I got the chance to finally meet her when she was visiting in Richmond.
Okay.
And she was amazing. And she is a big believer. She says, a quote that I am a big believer in early intervention.
Mm.
And she really understands this because her story is that she did not speak for 4 years, but with the help of a speech therapist and regular intervention, she was able to really progress with her speech, and now she speaks all around the world as helping us to understand animal behaviors and people in general as well. So it's
Yeah.
really neat to meet her, but to think about the importance of the early days, and that's really what my team has worked on as First Lady, is making sure that all children have the chance for a great beginning in life. And so we've been working really hard on some transformational legislation and funding to make sure that all children get what they need to start out in school well. So I'm so excited for Brooke that she's
Yes.
starting this year. But I know it's a difficult and challenging time for all parents. And we said where there are inequities already, especially in these areas, this time of COVID has really shined a flashlight on a lot of those
Point.
inequities, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think so. Access to the internet is a huge one. We just, for our school system, we just picked up Brooke's Chromebook.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
and everyone in the county received it who's going to school. But that it also goes back to the digital divide. I can help her, hopefully, be able to access and get on and log on. But then
Right.
you're right, it shines a light on all of those other things. There are other parents or grandparents or other caregivers or, parental figures that may not be able to assist.
Right.
So it shines that light on a lot of the other issues. And of course, in terms of being in school versus not, all of those kinds of issues that can arise with
Yeah.
food insecurity and all of those kinds of things as well. So I completely agree with that.
I think a lot of school districts, and the VDOE website has tips for parents with children with special needs. And I think that's a great place to go to look for what they're suggesting specifically for parents right now. And VDOE is Virginia Department of Education, for those who
Mhm.
don't know.
I was going to put it below.
Okay, good. And we'll put some, we'll send you some links to some great things that are happening at
Perfect.
this level as well, and some terrific programs like 211 Virginia, which is a really great site of linking people up with different opportunities. No Wrong Door, which really helps you to find where the services are that particularly you and your family may need.
Oh,
And
I
so,
don't think I was aware of that one. Oh, okay. I will
and that's really so that the services follow you instead of you having to go find all the services. And
Oh,
it's a very
interesting.
secure network of sharing information and making sure that you get the services that you need. And so we'll be sure and send that to your folks so that they can
Yes,
find
that
out.
would be great.
Yeah, but thinking again about our caregivers, and I know this is such a challenging time. It's always a hard job, but such an important one. And we know that there's so many caregivers from the entire spectrum of life, really, that are out there courageously caring for their family members and friends. And we are just so very grateful. If we took them out and paid them as workforce, which really they should be, it would be such a huge picture to the world of all the people who very quietly going about doing this very, very important business. So we so appreciate all the great work they're doing for their loved ones. But
Well, and
there
I know
is
that
help out there, and it's important to get that when they need and deserve it.
that's, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I forgive me, I don't know exactly the name of it, but with her being able to get services, caregiving services in the home, I know that
Yes.
some of the services, because some caregivers are understandably so, hesitant to have folks come into the home. What
Indeed.
happened here in Virginia is that the caregiving services or the caregivers and parents are able to now use those services themselves. So for instance, the hourly rate, they can use it as a parent to be able to take care of the children. And I think that some of the parents are able to do that now in a way that obviously they weren't able to do pre-pandemic. And so that's helpful for those who are at home, either furloughed or what have you,
Huge.
be able
Yes.
to help,
You can't work outside the home. Yeah. If you need to be
yeah,
at home
exactly.
with your family member and you're doing that work, it's great to
Yes.
have that help. It really
Yes,
is.
and what we're trying to do is, what we've been doing is my husband and I, he's a lawyer as well, and we are at home working remotely, and we have our two girls, and we're in the process of seeing if we'll be able to have another caregiver come in to help us, but we're doing it, and so we're in the thick of it, just like everybody else, and trying to figure it out because you even trying to bring someone in, there are a lot of people who are really good at what they do, but you do have that concern about someone coming into the home,
Oh,
particularly
understandably.
with Brooke and her condition.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's, you think about it, even with my youngest daughter who just turned 1, Blair she could go to daycare, but we've chosen not to do that just because if she goes and brings something back in,
Right.
you know,
Right.
back into the home, it would be challenging.
Right, right. Many of our families have members with, the conditions that make them more vulnerable to diseases in general out in the public. But of course, right now we're being really, really cautious with those who may be more
Right.
able, to catch any kind of disease right now because we don't want them to come down with COVID by any means. So I can see why that would be a real concern with many families that are out there, if anyone coming into their smaller bubble, as we like to say. And a
Exactly.
friend of mine, Delegate Bagby, put it so well. He said, we're all in this storm together. We may be in different boats, but we're all, in this together, and we're trying, all of us, to figure out a way forward. And you mentioned how best to start school, and we got to thinking about, I was a teacher too many years, so I taught for
I
12
didn't
years.
realize that. Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I know that communication is really important, and especially now that we're all trying to figure this out, so I think you know your child best. I always say that you're your children's best and first teacher. And
Yes.
so teachers, I know from the other side of the perspective as a teacher, really appreciate being given the insight from the parents. And it's not a critique or anything. It's very helpful for you to say, as your child's best advocate, hey, this is the way my child really responds, this is how they like to learn. They're an auditory learner, or they prefer to have, this kind of stimulation in the classroom. And that really helps a teacher in their planning for the year, because they do what they do because they love children and they want to give them the very best care and education possible. So if you give them a few tools because you know your child so well, that's always really helpful, and keeping those lines of communication open, so that if you notice, because you know your child so well, that things are changing, or you're going to have some concerns, when you bring that to the educator, that really helps them to be better at their job as well, and to ask them, hey, what is it that you need from us, as a family, and support as well.
Okay.
I used to joke with my parents of my students at the beginning of the year, and I'd say, hey, you know what, I'll only believe half of what they say about you if you only believe half of what they say about me.
Right, exactly.
But all jokes aside, it really is great to keep that communication flowing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's really important to do that. And I would definitely recommend that you sit down with the teacher, whether online or physically, and say, hey, this is all the great info about my child, and this is the best way to reach me if you have any concerns or questions.
That's a great idea. We actually sent a couple of videos to the
Oh,
teacher.
that's terrific.
And yeah, and she has seizures versus tremors, because she gets tremors with her Rett syndrome too. So we sent videos of the different, what this looks like, and we have great occupational therapists and physical therapists and the teachers, pre-K teachers, who all suggested these things.
Good.
It's really good to be able to have people who care about your child to be able to make sure the year is going to be a productive one. So
yes,
to be mindful of your time, I did want to just end on one final thing. Face masks.
yeah.
We we definitely use them religiously, and every time we go out, we have several of them ready to use. But we have seen, I guess, depending on your disability, what the CDC has said that, kids under a certain age, or if you have a disability that makes it hard to take off, then those those people may not necessarily need to use them. So if you have any thoughts about it, or if there's something that you wanted to clear up about it, I think people would be appreciative to hear.
Yeah, well, I know that what we're saying now, and I'm looking to make sure I got my notes right, but those are
And you know what? While you're thinking about that, I want to say, I say this all the time. I'm not trying to do gotcha.
No.
I want people to get information that is helpful to them. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about you and your time, and giving me thoughtful responses, because I want people to be able to have information that they need and find relevant and important. So I wanted to preface that by
I appreciate that.
by saying that.
Well, I know they're saying that those under the age of 2
Yeah.
are used by people who are having trouble breathing, or incapacitated, or otherwise unable to take off a face mask themselves, should not have to wear a face mask. But for anyone with a condition such as anxiety, intellectual developmental disability, that makes wearing a mask difficult, but not impossible, if you talk to your healthcare provider, I think sometimes they'll help. They'll say, listen, I think I'm concerned this person is so immune compromised that when they go out, I really recommend that, despite the discomfort, that we do this. But that's a good discussion to have with them directly.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I think it's a good idea. I think if you're able to do that for your child's protection, or the individual in your home, and for others around you, to wear them when you can. Sometimes I know, especially with children, practicing wearing them for short periods of time, or making it fun. If there's a way you can do a mask that means something to them. I know I have a favorite mask, and it looks like it's the early writing books that children use in school, in early education. So other people probably look at me and say, why is she wearing those silly little things on her face? But for children, I hope that when they see it, they'll recognize it and not be fearful, because that's another thing that I know, especially our children with special needs, that really thrive on consistency. I think these changes in their normal routine have been especially hard for them. And sometimes those who need to read lips and, are very tuned in visually to faces, it's also very difficult for them. So I think that just taking that time to get them used to those changes over time and making it a game, or finding something that motivates them or positively rewards them for short periods of time, if they need to wear it. But as I said, there are some exceptions to that rule for those who really cannot wear those masks. And for those, then we protect them, right?
Exactly. We protect them by wearing our masks when we can, and when we're within the 6 feet. And what you mentioned was so great about kind of the regularity. And it's not just, small children with disabilities. Well, quite frankly, all of us, right? But a lot of people in general with disabilities, I mean, I'm generalizing, but some, want routine. I'm thinking specifically about autism and Rett syndrome and some others. And this time period has been, somewhat challenging for my daughter, because we don't have the same schedule every day. We're still trying to do our remote work, and we're taking care of the 2 kids, and her anxiety has increased, and anxiety is one of the symptoms of Rett syndrome for a lot of them. And so it is a challenge to be able to make sure that we can, to the extent possible, make sure that she has a regular schedule. And in fact, I think that even though it'll be virtually, I think that will be beneficial to her as well, to have, get up in the morning again at a particular time and have a particular schedule. So even though it'll be, challenging, I think it'll be good for her. So
it'll be a big challenge at first, and a lot of what I hear from parents is some regression. And I think that's what I hear you talking a little bit about as well. And for those reasons of anxiety and different, not, into their normal routine. And I think they pick up a lot from us as well, and I think if we're in a good headspace and trying to be positive about those things, but it helps us too to have those routines. And I have a good girlfriend of mine that is a school nurse, and we talk about taking recess. So she has her lunch in her recess, and when we frame those words, even though we're not doing them the same as going to school, we can still have those times in our day for our children, so that they get outside in a safe way. Have recess, they have a break from the screens or their school environment, if you will, and then get on that regular schedule so they know what to anticipate. And that really helps ratchet down that anxiety. We know, and at the beginning of the year, there's always change and anxiety around that. And so we can prepare ourselves and them for that. But knowing that if we have a positive attitude moving forward in this is going to be a great year for you. And we have these terrific new opportunities. And although we might not see our little friends directly, you don't have to worry about getting on the school bus this year. You can sit right in your favorite chair and work with your really cool new Chromebooks that only the kids in school get to have, and those kinds of things that really make it special. And I know that you're doing that already, but I think the language around school and that school day calendar, that those events throughout the day is really important, and it helps not only our young people, but those of us who are older as well, to have those times during our day.
Yes. Wow. Well, thank you so much. And you've been so generous with your time. I really appreciate you talking to me and just bringing to light a lot of these issues that and discussion of these issues that a lot of people are kind of concerned about and nervous about. But we'll be fine. We need to take the advice that you just said.
Yes. Well, it's not an easy time. And I applaud all of you, for young parents, especially dealing with working and taking care of children and all the challenges you have, all the other caregivers out there who are trying to work and handle family things and be a caregiver. It's never an easy time, but especially now it's really difficult. But I want to encourage them to hold on as you're doing. You're not alone. We're saying to them, they're not alone. There are many great people and services that are out there to help. So reach out if you need help, and encourage them to know this won't last forever. And, that we really appreciate all the great work that you and so many others are doing out there in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's been so much fun talking to you, Leslie, and I keep in touch, and we'll be sure and send you those links so that your folks can have them online.
That would be great. Thank you again.
Thank you, dear. And listen, give Brooke a big kiss for me.
I will. It's so nice that you actually, you came up to them and started talking to them. It was so cute to see.
I couldn't resist. Are you kidding? They're adorable. So I thank you for letting me talk to them. My daughter says, stop talking to children you don't know, Mom. But I just can't help but they're such precious little girls. And
that's a mother thing.
And that's another thing, we think about the young ones today. It's really not easy, but trust me, they grow up before you know it. So take this time to lean in and to hold them close to your heart, because as difficult as it is, it will fly by.
I know. That's what my mother says. I try to listen.
All right, sweetie. Well, I wish you all the very best. Stay well.
All right. You too. Okay.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Baby, slow down. The end is not as fun as the start. Please stay a child somewhere